Hey there, hi there, ho there. I am Serena Hicks, and you are listening to The Serena Hicks Show, where we talk about love and money, all forms of love, self-love, neighborly love, love for your journey of entrepreneurship, love for the money you have, love for the debt you have, if you have any, love for your journey and experiences, learning how to make money, have money, steward money, donate money, receive money, love and money. That's it. We're going to talk about every intersection of and version of love and money. Welcome to the Love and Money Show. If you love it, tell a friend. I love you. I mean it. Let's go. Hey, everyone. I have such a special guest for you today. It is such a treat for your heart, your head, your soul. Like, I don't want to make Liz nervous, but I'm overjoyed. And we were just talking, and I was like, stop talking. We have to record. We have to record the podcast. So please allow me to introduce you to my friend who I actually met exactly a year ago. I don't know if we met exactly a year ago, but a year ago, we were in LA together at Byron Katie's. She says it's her last ever 9-day school for the work. She does smaller things now. And Liz had these amazing gold sneakers, and I just thought she was cool. And we ended up sitting next to each other and talking, and I'll tell you the rest. Now she's on the podcast. But please allow me to introduce you to my friend who is also a career coach, Liz Berry. Hi, Liz.
Thank you so much, Serena. It is fabulous to be here in a real moment, actually. Only a year ago, we just started the school. So we might have been in day 1 or 2 of the 9-day school.
I'm a total geek, and so this was day 2. The 10th,
Right. Okay.
the 10th, March 10th,
Right.
was Friday
Yeah.
night that we were in there, and I remember I hope my listeners can see this. I'm sure you will see this as well, but I was running late, everyone be shocked, for our opening like ceremony, and they made us sign like all these papers, which I also remember in person. The papers were literally they're like, I'm responsible for my safety, hard stop, the end. And I was like, what am I thought Byron Katie was like a spiritual woman, like, am I gonna die? And I signed, and then I was like running into the room, and I totally like tripped and fell like face on ground, full body
Oh,
fell. And
no
this
way.
smoking hot guy, and I can't remember his name, but I'm pretty sure he's Layla Martin's ex-boyfriend. For any listener who's like, I know her ex-boyfriend, who they like built vitamin companies together, and like ran over and was like, "Are you okay?" And I remember thinking, my body did that on purpose because he was the only guy within like 15 feet. And I'm like, my body totally did that on purpose. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And that was the beginning of school. And
Mhm. What an entrance.
it was just so amazing and blew my mind and heart open. And um,
Mm.
meeting you there altered the trajectory of my life and career. Tell everyone what you do as a career coach, and we will jump in after that.
Sure. Oh, well, I'll try and say it quickly, but my
No.
story is fascinating. Well, if I go right back, how it started was I tried to get into medical school when I left high school, and my personality type's really good at networking, and I did a lot of that in the pub and not the library. There was no way I got into medical school.
Mhm.
So I carried on and did a science degree. I did a master's. I cut up and experimented 100 genetically hypertensive rats for my thesis. And then I know. And then I got into drug trials, which is clinical research for Roche Pharmaceuticals. They're a multinational, massive firm. And what happened, so that was all very good and well, beautifully aligned with what I did and studied. And my father was very proud, which was really important to me at the time in my mid-20s. And it was a job I got flown around the world, and but the job itself is what I call the wrong fit. And this is
Mm.
really relevant when it comes to careers. It's all about the right fit.
Mm.
And what happened was, in the middle of all that, my parents were killed in a car accident when they were driving. They were doing a little OE, driving across America in Idaho. My father went round the corner. He was driving on the wrong side of the road, because New
Mm.
Zealand, we drive on the wrong side of the road.
Mm.
And they came back in urns.
Mm.
And that was the beginning of me learning about career coaching, because I did that because I was in my mid-20s. I had 3 younger brothers, and I learned about career coaching by the seat of my pants, because I became their coach.
Mm.
And also in the eulogies at a 2.5 hour funeral of my parents, listening to these people speak about their passions in life. And I sat there going, I don't even know what I like doing, let alone what I'm passionate about. And I literally became obsessed at that moment. And so I have spent a small fortune on personal development, self-help and counseling,
Okay,
and have,
pause. That's
yeah,
why we're friends. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in my world. I'm like, oh yeah,
totally.
very expensive brain and heart.
And yep, that led me to where I am now. And I really have, I say I've been a career coach for 20 years because I started with my brothers and then doing it for myself. And then it just was so natural. And I ended up returning to university and doing a career development qualification. So I have an alphabet after my name and have been doing that ever since. So have absolutely loved this industry. It's all about helping people find the path in life that's right for them and not following a map that someone else has given them. Because often what happens is they follow that map and they get there and they go, what? Is this all there is? I did everything right. I did everything I was supposed to. And yet, why do I not feel very fulfilled? And so I see that just all the time. And so I am very passionate about this. But what was happening so often with careers is most traditional career consultants, I'd call myself a career consultant back then, it's very much advice giving. Do this and then you do that. It's very left hemisphere approach. If you find what skills you are and know what your values are and you match that with the job, and then Bob's your uncle, away you go. And here's how you apply for work more strategically, and you've got to make sure your resume is up to scratch, kind of thing. And what I was noticing is if I ever followed up with clients 6 months to a year after they'd paid me good money to help them change, a lot of them were still stuck. And
Hi.
I knew I needed more tools in the toolkit. I knew it had to do with what was going on up in our minds
I
because
want
they
to
were blocking themselves.
I want to interrupt you. I didn't realize
Sure.
this moment, and I'm like, of course I adore you, of course I admire you, but I didn't realize how parallel our work is in that, yeah, it's you can learn, quote, how to make more money or quote, how to budget, but the mindset in between, it's like, where are you 6 months later if the thinking, the thoughts, the feelings, the authentic, like if we're out of integrity with what we're thinking, feeling, can't just smash on top. This is how you do your career, or this is how you make your money. You can try. Most people have. I certainly did.
And Serena, every time I listen to any podcast of yours, any of your teachings about money, I'm like, I could just replace the word money with career or opportunity because it's exactly the same energy. It is the same thing. And that's why I have loved being part of the Boom Boom Room because I'm like, oh, this is such a great way to talk about the same stuff, but for careers.
I love it. Okay, so you help your clients not quote, air quotes, do what they're supposed to do, but
Mm.
find what lights them up the way you light up,
Totally.
the way I light up.
So I blend career tools because I still believe in them. They're very useful, but I bring in the life coach tools. So that's where I had to shop around and look around for how am I going to help clients like this? And I looked at, there's a gazillion life coach training courses on the planet, and they're all very expensive,
Mhm,
especially in New Zealand dollars.
mhm,
And I decided on Martha Beck.
mhm.
So she doesn't call us life coaches, she calls us wayfinders. So I am a certified wayfinder. And my goodness, when I blend those tools together, wow, it's so exciting how much faster, how much more fulfilling that clients, how they get there is just phenomenal. So
I love
yeah.
that. Everyone, y'all know I'm obsessed with Martha Beck. That is how and why I went to Londolozi in South Africa last June. I'm going back this year. Guess who my roommate is? It's Liz.
Amazing.
So
So
excited.
excited.
I haven't had a roommate before. Last year it was my own space, and I'm like, oh my God, a roommate. What's that going to be like? We'll find out. Um,
Yeah.
I love, love, love. Like it almost makes I mean, for those who see me, you see me, but if you're listening to the podcast, like my brow is so furrowed, it like breaks my heart and makes me ragey when I think of people trying to quote navigate their career without the types of tools that you have, without listening inside. I also think it's fascinating. I didn't realize until just this moment that both of us really found our lifelong passions, our sacred work in deep grief. You having lost your parents, me, for me, it was when my big brother died. And it was specifically like drowning in the grief, it was like, maybe I could be who he thought I was. Maybe I could act like a capable, amazing, like maybe I'll just sometimes be who he saw me as, just to honor. It's just fascinating that that's like what unlocks
Mm.
10,000 doors.
There is something in those moments, isn't there? And it's like, you know, we get this one precious life.
Yeah,
It's,
that's it.
and I'm not here to stuff around. I don't have time.
That's exactly it. I
I
remember
don't
you
have
said
time.
this. It's
Yeah,
not a dress rehearsal. Like that was my big
it's not a
takeaway.
dress rehearsal. And yet it's so interesting. Where do humans spend most of their waking adult lives? At work. The average human spends 80,000 hours at work. And I love talking about gifting or gifts with my clients because we are born with gifts. They're innate, inherent in us. And yet a lot of my clients would not have a clue what their gifts are. And if we're spending 80,000 hours at this place, at this work, why don't we use our gifts? Because we hit flow state and we had all sorts of that beautiful love and joy when we're using our gifting. And when we don't use our gifts, we end up bitter, resentful. And I hate to be really extreme here, but they say that Hitler was a frustrated artist.
He was. It's the best
Yeah.
example. That's what
Yeah.
happens when we're so far out of integrity.
Toxic. Yeah.
Totally problematic all day. And I love that you mentioned that because it's like, you're like, we get bitter, we get this. Okay. It's the perfect segue because meeting
Mhm.
you, so
Yeah.
March of 2023 for the
Mhm.
record books. So Liz and I actually met, and I mean, I love everyone I met at school. I suspect you love everyone you met at school.
Yeah.
So we met, I think it was like on the last day, and we were partners for partner work. And then I was like, oh my God, I love your shoes. And somehow we figured out we both had the good sense that we were going to go play in Santa Monica and not just fly home because y'all, we spent 9 days in an LAX Sonesta, not a luxury space. Anyways,
Oh.
it was totally right. Totally
Yeah.
not there for luxury, but also, oi. So I had myself scheduled to go to Casa del Mar, have some nicey nice space, listen to some waves crash before I flew home to Texas. And then you were going to be in Santa Monica. So we made a lunch date, you guys, at my very favorite place in Santa Monica. We
Mhm.
had a lunch date. So I was in a space for so many reasons. Someday there'll be a podcast and YouTube episode. We'll get there later.
Mhm.
I was absolutely a little bit bitter, a little bit resentful, a lot bit confused, sort of hiding in plain sight. And even though like I've never doubted this is the work I love to do, I doubted, can I do it? Is this for me? Is this my place in the world? Was I too big for my britches? Just all the usual doubts. And
Mhm.
having lunch with you and everything you kept saying, you were the
Right.
first person in months. And probably because, of course, we just came out of school and I met you and was immediately like, oh my God, she's amazing. But you were like the first person in months who I could see the value of the boom boom room. Like I was selling Liz on the boom boom room at lunch, and before you guys freak out and start selling all your new friends at lunch, cut that shit out. It wasn't this like hard sell, lean forward, blah, blah, blah. It was the first time I was in service
Right.
again and saw the value of what I offered, never mind my sales numbers or my like that wasn't the thing. It was like, oh shit, this is who I created this for. This
Mm.
human who's highly educated, so intelligent, all of like understands everything. And then when it's really, really time to grow their business, sometimes they feel whatever it is they feel, and it's literally so thank you for existing because it woke me up. Like just that lunch was
So
like,
great. My pleasure.
right? I was like, this is why, oh my God, I should talk more about the boom boom room. It's not about me, it's about women like her, humans like her. So something that I asked that we could talk about was your experience of the boom boom room as far as like
Oh,
support and group, because one of the things you told me that made me laugh, and I told you at lunch lovingly as I was inhaling the most delicious hot rolls with butter,
yeah.
was you were like, a lot of coaches in New Zealand don't make like a lot of money. And I was like, well, then you'll be the first. And you have global clients. Like your clients are global. Like, I don't care where you live.
I wrote in I journal that day. I wrote because you said money can come from New York, San Francisco, and London.
And
I went,
anywhere else. But yeah,
of course they can. I'm on Zoom here.
yes.
Yeah.
And people forget that. And that was a pivotal part when I was beginning my business, because at the time I was like, I don't know a lot of people who have 5K for coaching because I sure didn't at that instant. And I was like, but I come from New York. not like born there, y'all, but lived there for 10 years. And it was like, oh, people in New York have 5 figure coaching. And it just allowed my brain to unlock, to be like, oh, these are the
Mhm.
cities. Yeah. So specifically, how have you found having 24/7 access to the Facebook group and or like the weekly calls to get
Ah,
to talk about like money, business, coaching, growth, money,
all,
business?
all of it, your videos. I feel like I've not had to, I have downloaded new software into my
Ooh.
brain. Uh,
Mm,
and just hearing the same messages over, I needed to hear them repetitively to get some neural pathways going in my brain. But I find, and we've talked about this before, when I come to group live rather than, I still find the recordings incredibly
mhm,
useful and profound, but being there live, there's an energy.
mhm,
And I just have these, when you're coaching someone else on the boom boom room, it's like, that was for me. Oh my goodness, that was for me. I always write tons of notes because that's how I learn. And then I've been coached a few times on it, and it's just given me exactly the answer I needed at that moment, because I don't really have anywhere else to talk to anyone else about what I'm doing. Whereas we're all in this together at the Boom Boom Room, and we're all having very similar things. We're all going through it. And so I love that. And I love the fact that I can jump into the Facebook group and my answers that you might not necessarily get to them straight away, Serena, but the other boomers just answer me.
That
And
delights me.
that's what I need to do. Or they'll share something with me and go, my website, have a look at my contact form on my website, or here's this, or here's that, try that. And that's just been, that has meant my growth has just accelerated because I get the answer straight away. I'm
Mhm.
not spinning my wheels. I'm not second guessing. I just get on with it.
I love that for you. And I remember when I very first had the boom boom room, I obsessively tried to be the first one to answer every question. And now I'm like, let me hang back. There are so many brilliant people in the
Ah,
boom boom room who do their contributions
yeah.
that I'm like, oh, yeah, great. Half the time, by the time I circle in, it's like, you have a pile of gems here. Here's what I want to say as well. Um, we didn't talk about this, so I'd love for you to mention it. You have like a magnificent full life. You have kids, plural, like you have a family you love, like you left your job. Will you tell us more about that?
Sure. I was actually looking through my journal from the school, and one of the things Byron Katie got us to do at the end is talk about what's the problem you're trying to solve. And I said, I want to get to 100K.
Mm.
And then we went outside and found an object. And I spoke to this, I brought it back. It's a rock. Rock wisdom, Katie called it. And it said, if you had this, and I had to ask the rock, if you had this problem, what would you do? And it just said, get on with it. And then I wrote a judge your neighbor worksheet. And that's the first time in the 9 days at school I wrote anything about money. And my partner happened to be you. And I went, what? And you said to me right then and there, you said, you're a mum with 4 children traveling to the US for this. You can easily be good in business. And you said, those skills are so transferable. She said, you said this, Serena, the mums on my program are amazing at business. Mums are amazing at business. And it was the first time it almost like was a shock that went through my body. I was like, really? I
Yes.
could be? And then you asked me at lunch, come on the boom boom room. And you called me out on quite a few of the things I said. And I just went, oh, I've got to do this. And so it was like, it was just that belief. You could see it in me, and I wasn't seeing it in myself. So it was one of the big blocks was, if I do business, I will never see my children again, and my husband will divorce me. And this would be, it was that if I get successful, I was terrified of it.
Of course, because it's new and our brains don't like uncertainty. And then so much of the
Mm.
messaging that we have seen are you're either a mom or you're a businesswoman. We don't yet have enough fair representation of women who thrive in business, even though you guys already exist.
And I know, and like a couple of years ago, a friend of mine said she's got a little business. She said, let's get a few of us together and go away and have a business retreat. Who do you know? And there's a woman. And I went, I just didn't know anyone. And that's another reason I love the Boom Boom Room,
Thank you.
because we're all doing this together, and some of us have kids and some of us are just trying to muddle through this thing.
I
And
have
I love
cats.
that.
I do too. And I think it's so valuable. Like Gabor Mate, who's a major researcher, of course, on trauma, always says, healing happens in community. And I'm like,
Ah,
yeah, learning does too. Permission to thrive also happens in community. Like it's the same thing. It's just healing. But
mhm.
none of us on a DNA level, like Brene Brown teaches the DNA imperative to not feel ashamed, because that meant, our ancestors were shunned, which meant they're going to die or we're going to die. But it's like, yeah, it feels so lonely if you're the only one doing a thing.
Really does, because I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. And I've talked ad infinitum with my husband about it, but he's kind of just a little bit, no, not sick of it, but he kind of is. And I don't
Totally
blame him.
normal. Totally
Yeah,
normal. We
yeah.
talked briefly about this, and I wanted to actually, so I'm happy you said this because we talked briefly about this in one of our personal conversations not so long ago. So my partner was my ex-partner, so supportive. He was so supportive about my business. But the part that I was like, I need to tell this, except for when he wasn't. And I think it's so funny because partners, you guys, like partners, spouses, kids, parents, the people we love the most, press our buttons the best. And it's such a thing because it was like, he was just so great, honestly, 95% of the time. But like the 5% of the time he was difficult. Like no, it was awful. And it's like, I think I want to normalize everyone has the best. No, everyone has the perfect partner for them while they are on their journey. Everyone has the perfect partner for them, as
Mhm.
in, just knowing what I know behind the scenes, he's perfect for you. He's perfect. And it's that, which is part of why I think we geek out together. For
Mhm.
anyone who doesn't know Byron Katie and the work, go to thework.com, Google Byron
Mhm.
Katie. If you've been listening to this podcast, you're familiar. It's about loving what is, not suppressing, repressing, or ignoring emotions, but inquiry and finding, like believing in a friendly universe enough to find how it's true. And I think that's also where I geek out. I'm like, I think that's all money in business is the opportunity to see where we've been
Well, you
unaware.
say it at the beginning of your podcast, you say every time it's about money's never about money.
Never.
It's just a fill in for untangling what's really going on. And I think, when it comes to partners, for me, I've been that support person for Jonathan. He's been very successful in his business. And I've been the support person for my 4 children and the support person for my 3 brothers, because I started that a few years ago now. And I'm the support person. That's my identity. And now you called me out at that lunch at Santa Monica, and I felt really exposed and quite vulnerable. Oh, it's about me stepping into it. I'm a businesswoman now, and what does that really mean for me? And I think it conveniently I'd blamed my husband, but I can't do that. I can't do that because of this. Yes, but all the yes buts that my clients love to throw at me too. And it was really taking responsibility.
You just modeled so powerfully and beautifully. I like to talk about, I don't know that I talk enough about radical loving responsibility, not radical responsibility where we beat ourselves up, but we're like, sometimes I would use that as an excuse. And I'm like, we all do that. We all have mine is being single right now. That's the one that I love to
Right.
sometimes be like, it's so much harder because I'm single. And it's just like, this is fascinating. Is that true? Or is that what my ego is holding on to in this moment? It's like, I don't know. Thank you for being such a
Yeah.
beautiful model of just integrity. Like
Well, you say it. I've learned so much from you, Serena. You say being in business is a spiritual experience.
it is.
I really have had to look at myself and take responsibility. It's much easier to be employed and just blame the boss.
You know
It's
what?
actually, it feels easier to do that. Oh, it's the boss's fault.
Thank you for
But
saying
when
that.
it's your own business, the buck stops with you and it's
Yeah.
up to you.
And if you self-attack, it won't get better. Ask me how I
No.
know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why business is so powerful. I love that you said that. You totally reminded me. Like I'm literally remembering actual emotional meltdowns that I had. And it was absolutely because I was like, I have this amazing critical eye because I come from hypocritical people, but hypercritical, like I could problem solve. And it was like, I'm the problem. Oh my God, I'm the problem. So now I'm like, how I had to learn. I'm still
Mhm.
doing it, you guys, till the day I die. But the skill I think I'm exponentially better at now is how do I problem solve without criticizing? How do I, make adjustments without making myself or other people wrong the whole time?
Mhm.
Radical loving responsibility.
And having the support to do that too. And that's why I can come to the boom boom room and get coached
Hmm. 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 And
and find my way back home, which is in here.
and I'm also just going to say, so thank you, thank you, thank you for that. Um, we all know I'm evangelical about coaching, but I'm like on it lately. That's also the value of hiring someone like you. There are 8 billion career books, including some that are woo oriented and like, here's how to find your way. And I'm like, use them, people. Also hire you a coach because it expedites the process. It makes it so much more yummy and loving and truly, not to expedite it for the sake of speed, but just like we can't see our own blocks. Like a good dentist does not do their own root canal. That's not a thing.
Mhm.
It's like we need, well, as humans, we need others, but also it's like, yes, partnership is just an entirely different experience.
Mhm.
Um, Speaking of, can we talk about
Mhm.
your results? So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
geeking out all over again. I'm like, a year ago we were at Byron Katie school and you had a job. What about now?
I know. So this time last year, I'd been working at the University of Auckland as a career consultant. Um, I'd been there for 8 years and loved it. It was a great job. And I reflect on this, but I knew it was time to leave probably 2 years before I actually did leave. And there's signs for this. I've talked to my clients about this that I was just going through the motions, getting through the day, not giving it my all, doing the bare minimum. And I felt out of integrity with that, which is some of the signs that it's time to move on. Anyway, 9 days working at the school with all my painful thoughts I've ever had in my life, cried for 9 days. I was a pig in mud, really. And I saw you and I joined the Boom Boom Room while I was still in Santa Monica and I quit. I left my job. And it's the whole idea of commitment because it really does. I say to my clients, it's important to dabble and try stuff out. If you're going to make a change, you've got to know what it's like. You've got to test drive jobs before you go ahead and do them. But then there's that moment where you've got to stop dabbling. And it was like I had used the metaphor that Martha Beck uses. It's like I jumped out of the plane, but I was still clinging to the side of the plane, waiting for the parachute to open before letting go. And I did that for quite some time.
Hold on, I've
And
never heard that. That's so good.
I know, I just had to let go. And I just had to
Yeah.
commit. And that's where they say when people commit, providence moves too. You would have heard that quote.
Mhm.
And I did. And managed to get in Boom Boom Room, got coached, right. I got to get rid of all my little tiny wee packages, my 3 session packages. I got my Happy Meal clients.
You
It
sound
was right.
still. I was like, Liz, what is this? What is this? You're like, I do this, I do that, I do
I had
this.
like a gazillion different coaching packages and different ways and did a bit of market research. I was completely underpricing myself. So that's why I love the proper pricing in Boom Boom Room. It was so valuable. I actually get my clients to do a similar thing for when they're in employment. Um, and just went, right, there's only one way you can work with me is you buy a 10 session package and you pay up front and you commit because when you get buy-in, you get buy-in. When people pay, they pay attention. And was that in and of itself was amazing because the results my clients were getting were just that much more incredible. So that was cool. And I just
That was
started
cool, she says. I left my career. I completely restructured my packages.
to
People were buying. People are still buying. Like, that was cool.
and I just started noticing and then they become my word of mouth referrals and the whole thing just started to accelerate. I was having big months that it was almost like I just can't even believe this is true.
Okay, and can I also just drag you as
Mm.
my friend? I loved you. Don't get angry. That sometimes you were like, I have so much interest. Ah. And I just want to normalize that that is a part of the trajectory. Like it is such a great problem to have, but as someone who values her family so much and values sleep and is not
Mhm.
willing to over hustle or be like, I'm just gonna work 80 hours a day. Can we just talk about what an interesting problem it is to be like, I feel like you came home from vacation once and had a whole pile of emails of people being like, how do I work with you?
Yeah. And it's that was the I actually think that moment with Serena was like, hang on, if they really want to work with me, they will commit to this by paying my proper price, by committing to a minimum of 10 sessions. And I just started to, because I gave away so many free discovery calls, I was just run off my feet with these discovery calls. And now, how I engage with people is I need to kind of feel their commitment on the email before I even give a discovery call now. And I've had to learn to be very careful and discerning about where I give my time away for free. And that's only helped me. It in these beautiful, you gave me these, that you've
Mhm.
just got them in Santa Monica.
Mhm.
And the first card I pulled out at that lunch was about that lush ecosystem of support.
Mm. Y'all, humble brag, my card deck doesn't play. That's it. That's what I have to say. It's always the right card.
That one really resonated with me because I think I do have a busy life, and I want to do this, because when it gets too busy and I'm too busy and the kids and it's too much, I'm like, I'm just going to quit and be a housewife. I'm just going to be a housewife. And there's that option always hanging over me. But there's another, like there's this thing in me that won't let me go, won't leave me alone. I keep doing it because I just have to. Well,
I
have to as in I really want to.
No, I think have to. I think for all of us that have sacred work, which if you're
Yeah.
listening, you have sacred work. Liz knows what hers is. I know what mine is. We have no peace when we try to ignore it. And it's
Yeah.
like, I think that's part of it. It's like, oh yeah, that's my sacred work. Like so many writers, it's like, I love writing, and yet they're like tortured. And yet it's like, this isn't an option. I mean, everything's an option, but to live well, it's not an option. It has to be
Mhm.
attended to. It's part of why we're on the planet at this time.
So yeah, swinging back to that, I've just had so much interest. The more I get out there and put myself out there, the more the interest comes back. And how do I deal with that? And I think proper pricing
Mhm.
has been one of the big ways that I have dealt with that.
You also just modeled Boundaries Make Bank.
Yes.
And you also just modeled, which is something I'm assuming, probably, well, I'm assuming that you and your clients ultimately see. There's a different energy if someone is on an interview for a job and the energy is please, please, please pick me.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
very different than if they are also sincerely, authentically, not as a quote manipulation, but like
Mhm.
interviewing their potential employer. When they are
That's right.
aware, like, I want this, but I bring value to the table too. So let's make sure we're a
Mhm.
match, not just, do you choose me? I hope you choose me. It's
Mm.
so fun the way you were like discernment and even just the energy that you're, and like you read energy, and a lot of my community do obviously, but like just noticing like you're reading the email and not just like, oh, they want a discovery call, let me just, you're like, what do they want, and does this feel like a yes for me? So interesting.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm,
It's
so
so
good.
fascinating that it's been really good for me. That whole energy thing in interviews, I now really I just, as I said, I don't have time to muck around anymore. I'm really upfront and open with clients about the woo stuff. I'm like, you've got to get your energetic vibration up. If you're going to a job interview, and you've got to understand your value. What is your value? You know you have options. You are high. When I say to clients, you're highly marketable. Am I? Am I? And it's that, the higher the need, the lower the negotiating power.
Yep.
The
Yep.
higher the lower the need, the higher the negotiating power for that client. So them understanding I've got lots of options is
Yes.
such a great, I love talking about all that. And you know what, when we talk about energy and vibration and that, clients get it. They love it.
It's 2024. Yep.
It is.
They don't, no problem, but like we're just not a match. No problem, but like
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the one to break that in.
Hmm.
So good. Okay. What do you think, as best you can, has been the most loving thought? Because I like rebranded the podcast silently, but love and money. It's like all I want to talk about is love and money because we're talking about the same thing here. What do you think has been the most loving thought that you have had about yourself as you've just in the last year been, quit your job, growing your business? Oh my God, we didn't even talk about. Will you tell everybody how you're getting paid to do speaking engagements, including by a
Oh,
former
yes.
employer?
So universities, I was professional staff, not academic staff, but professional staff at universities don't get paid very well. And I had all this experience and was doing all these amazing things, and it just grated me that I wasn't being paid very well. And you said to me at that lunch, you're saying, I really want the money on one hand, but no, 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 thanks on the other, because I'm still staying at the university. So I made, was very brave and I quit. Less than a year later, the university has come back to me recently from a completely different division, and they've asked me to work with their ECRs, early career researchers. So they're actually employees of the university, and have asked me to run workshops for them and help them with their career plans and career development. And they, for a 1-day workshop, are paying me 10 times more than what I would get paid in a one day of working there as an employee.
It gives
So
me chills.
it is just, it has blown my mind. And I think that comes back to the question you were about to ask is what's the thing? And I think one thing that's committing, but trusting it is a friendly universe. It does want to support us. There are always more clients. There's always more money. And we just have to stop blocking it. And the way we stop blocking it is we've got to be onto ourselves. And Byron Katie said, and I say it to my clients, all painful thoughts belong on paper. Get it down. What are the thoughts we're having, and look at them. Ask that first question, is that really true? Are you sure that's true? And when we start to really look at them and inquire into them, sometimes we go, oh, that's just ridiculous. I don't really think that.
And sometimes we do think it, but I love, and for anyone who's not fully tracking, Liz is talking about the work by Byron Katie. We met at Byron Katie's school. It's so easy for us to want to dismiss our thoughts and be like, I know better. But when we put a pen to paper and we actually, as you said, Liz, like write it down and we do the work. And I teach the work in the Boom Boom Room, but you don't need to be in the Boom Boom Room to know the work. You can literally go to thework.com. Byron Katie has a pile, an absolute pile for you to learn from, and literally mostly for free. So nobody get confused. Get you involved in the work, please and thank you. But it's such a game changer when you said like we have to be on to ourselves. And that's the thing. Most of the time we lie to ourselves because we don't want even more self-attack. So it's like unconscious parts of us are just telling us like, I'll figure it out. It's fine. This doesn't matter. Work is fine, whatever, and whatever. And it's just to tell ourselves the truth. I genuinely think I've been saying business is a spiritual experience, and that is still true. But I also think business, or to have a thriving, let me rephrase that, not even a thriving business, to live well requires that we tell ourselves the truth. We tell ourselves and others the truth, and actually thriving business. And it's so fun because you mentioning the lunch and me thinking about lunch after school. And it's like, it was the first time in a while I just told someone else the truth. I from a place of love. But you were
It
like,
was. You were laughing, like you were just kind of laughing. It was lighthearted,
yes,
joyous. You were calling me out.
yes.
You were, like I said, yes, but I'm an extrovert and I need to be around people, and I've got colleagues at the university, and I'm going to be terrible sitting at home all by myself. You said, well, that's why you join a mastermind and you join groups. It, every all of my year butts, you were laughing and lighthearted and just, oh, yep. And I just went, well, I've got nothing to say to any of this.
This
I
is
just,
so great. This is
so I went down to the Santa Monica beach, got a stick, and I wrote all my questions to my spirit guides. And they just basically said, what are you waiting for? We've given you all the signs. The fact that you were in Stacey Bayman's mastermind, you're about to be coached by Martha Beck at Lundalozy. I thought, well, if Martha Beck asked me to join her mastermind, be personally coached by her, if Stacey Bayman asked me that, would I say yes? Yes, I would. So yeah. spirit guides wrote back to me what to say in the sand, and I went back and signed up to the Boom Boom Room, and I've never looked back. It was awesome. So
Such
thank you for everything, Serena, because truly you have been a major part in getting me to where I am, and I'm just beginning. I feel like I'm just starting. I
oh, you
can't
are.
wait for this coming year and the things that are coming up for me, and then even next year.
My
I'm
heart
really
is
excited about where things are going.
my heart is so full. It is such a honor and a privilege to be your friend and to also separately get to do the work with you and to also separately get to usually with permission, but I'm not the best at this, coach your face off in the Boom Boom Room. It is an honor and a privilege in all three of those areas. So thank you for that.
I welcome all of it.
Liz, how can people find you?
Lizbarry.com. I have two programs. One is a one-on-one 6-month container, and my one-on-one clients get access to my online program, which is the other way you can work with me, is just in the group coaching program called Become Your Own Pathfinder. It's a 12-module program for soul search, then research, then job search, if you want to make a career change.
Okay,
So
why
it's
is it
mainly
important?
for career changes. Sorry.
Why is it important that order? You've mentioned that to me before. Why is it important to do in that order?
Because what people often do is they're sitting in their jobs going, I can't stand this. I've got to make a change. And the first step is they go straight to Seek or an online job board. And I say to people, if you want to feel depressed, just go and look at Seek or Indeed or whatever, because very few jobs get advertised. 7 to 30% of jobs get advertised. 80% of jobs are in that hidden job market. And so before you even go there, you got to soul search. You got to ask yourself, well, what do I really want to
Hold
do?
on, hold on. My mind is blown. This just became a 2-hour podcast. Everyone hold. My mind is blown. How many jobs are never posted? Did you say like 70%?
80%?
Right. And I know they legally have to be posted, but I'm also knowing by the
No, they
time they're
don't.
posted,
No, they don't, Serena. In the public sector they do,
yes. Oh my God,
but
you're right. So,
but the
so
private
please.
sector, no.
Oh my
It
God.
might be, it depends on the policy of the company. It might be company policy. They have to advertise, but
Oh
often
my God.
by the time it goes online, they've already found someone from within.
Yes. And I was just thinking, so my very first big kid job, I worked for my mom when I was a kid, all the different things. Okay, staying on target here. My very first impressive job that changed my entire life was being hired by MTV News to cover the 2000 presidential election. It was absolutely
Oh,
not advertised. It was
sure.
as freelance as productions, like it was never advertised. Like the entire department, not just my job. And that was a sweetheart of a job based on my boss. Hi, Betsy Forehand and Lee Stieglitz. I love you forever. But literally, just what you said. And I'm like, oh my God, I got that job because I'd been interviewing to be on camera and they said no. And I wrote them thank you notes and sent them cookies and followed up. And they said, well, we might have this one other option for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what you said. And it was, I mean, that job changed my
Of course
whole
it
life.
is.
And it wasn't posted and it would never be
Mm-hmm.
posted. And so
Mm-hmm.
many jobs, I'm like going through my head right now. And I'm like, most jobs I've ever had, because legally in the United States, public companies indeed do have to post job positions, but just what you said, 99% of the time, by the time, excuse me, that's not a real fact, that's a Serena fact. Many times, by the time they are actually posted, they already have somebody earmarked.
Of
It's
course.
just checking the legal box. Oh my God, such a good point. So most
So
people do.
yeah, that's why people stay stuck. They look at Seek and go, oh, I don't want to do any of those crummy jobs. Oh well, I might as well suck it up and stay here longer.
Or they apply for one of those jobs and they're
Yeah.
like, but nobody ever gets back to me. And it's like, yeah, because those jobs were literally
You
already
get
filled.
thousands of applications. You have a whole lot more competition. It's the World Wide Web. And that's why you have to be strategic about your job search. But the thing is, job search is the last thing I do with clients. We're going to come back upstream to soul search. What do you truly want to do? What does your soul want to do? We're on this planet for a short time. How long? I often say, how long's your runway? You've got another 15 years.
Mhm.
Do something you love.
Not a dress
And then
rehearsal.
you research it, because what the research part of it is, it's when the year buts come up. Oh yeah, but I couldn't do that. I haven't got enough experience. Oh yeah, but I've just spent 20 years in this industry. I couldn't do something else. Yeah, but. And that's where I go, are you sure? That's an assumption? Oh yeah, but it means I'd have to go back and get another qualification. Are you sure? Is that true? Go
Mm.
and research it, and you'll find most of the time you do not have to go and get more qualifications. Sometimes, sure, but a
Yeah.
lot of the time when clients learn how to do the research, because that's the other part, is they have no idea how to research the job market. They don't understand how you find that information out. And then we get into job search.
Oh my
So
God.
that's the order. It kind of is iterative. We kind of go back and forth a little bit, but that's the process I take people through.
I just love how you lit up all over again. It's like, right, this is what happens when you love your work. And I'm like, this is the same in the money making. Money is a lagging
Totally,
indicator. Lagging
totally.
indicator. It's not the first thing. And most people are like, that's the first thing I'm going to. And it's like, no, no, that's okay. We have some other things to do. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Liz, thank you for your work in the world. Will you tell
Aw.
everyone Instagram, Facebook, or just straight to the website?
Yeah, so I'm quite involved in LinkedIn, obviously a professional
Oh,
network,
I
obviously.
didn't think about that.
And you can still find me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm Liz Barry Coach on Instagram and Facebook, but just Liz Barry on LinkedIn.
I love that. And for Americans, hi America, Barry, Liz Barry. Yeah, you have a great accent, but sometimes people are like berries. No, not like the fruit. Liz Barry, like Barry's boot camp, but much nicer. That version.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Liz.
Oh,
Listen,
thank you, Serena. I've loved it. Always love having a yarn with you. This has
thank
been
you.
wonderful.
Y'all check the show notes. I'll have links to all things Liz. We would love, I'll speak for myself. I would love to know what your favorite takeaway is from this episode. So please put it in the comments or DM and I will share with Liz. Thanks for being here.
Bye,
Bye.
Serena.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you loved it, please share it with a friend, subscribe, leave a great review. If you didn't, okie dokes. I still love you. I still mean it. If you'd like to work together, you can find me at serenahicks.com. Also, any and all of my social profiles, click the link in profile and you'll find information about my 6-month group program. It is my signature 6-month program. It's $3,000 for 6 months of access. It's called the Boom Boom Room, specifically because we will take your current concepts about you and money and we will make them go boom. Also bloom, but it's fun to say boom and it's fun to say boom boom room. Love you, mean it. See you on the internet. Bye.